Hi guys, my name is Tom and I'm the Tech Chap, and this is the new Amazon Fire tablet. And before we take a look at the actual tablet, let me just show you what it says on this box. I say box, it's more of a bit of a carrier bag really, but if we look at the front, it says the Fire, a most sensible tablet, which I think is possibly the least flashy slogan or marketing slogan I've ever heard on a new technology product, but that is essentially what this is. It's a sensible tablet. Why is it sensible? Because it's 50 quid. It's $49.99, which makes it one of, if not the cheapest tablets you can buy right now. It significantly undercuts the price of the Nexus series as well as the Huddle tablets, which you can buy in the UK from Tesco. So this is $49.99, so under 50 quid, you could say. And obviously it's relatively bare bones. It is a low-end budget tablet. You're not getting a 4K screen or anything silly here, but what you are getting is a reasonably good 7-inch IPS display, which means the colors are nice, the viewing angles are quite nice, although it is only a 1024 by 600 resolution, which does feel pretty dated, and you can see the pixels. So it's a bit pixelated, but you know what, it's not too bad, and it's not the end of the world, even though it is not HD, which is very rare to find a new technology product that isn't HD these days. But as you can see from me using it, it's reasonably responsive. Everything feels quite fast. It is running Amazon's own Fire OS, which in many regards looks very similar to the latest Android Google Android software. You can see from the multitasking, the back, home, and multitasking buttons are very similar, and swiping down from the top gives you notifications and settings, which are very similar to Android. But where it does differ from Android significantly is you don't get access to the Android Google Play Store, so you don't get anywhere near as many apps. So although you don't get the full Android library, you do get, all the key Amazon apps, of course, including the shopping, the video, the Kindle apps, Audible, Amazon Music, and you obviously get the built-in apps such as the camera, media player, photo gallery, and Facebook, IMDb, Messenger. A lot of the core apps that people do use are here. So let's have a quick look at the device itself. Well, it is pretty chunky, it's pretty heavy. It definitely feels durable. I wouldn't really have a problem if I drop this. I'm not going to, but it feels pretty meaty. That's to say, it is thick. It is pretty heavy. But it's quite comfortable to hold. It's definitely a one-handed tablet, which is nice. And the 16:9 aspect ratio means it's great for watching movies. This is definitely a media consumption device. This is great for watching movies. Why? Because Amazon for one have put the volume buttons as well as the power button on the top of the device, which means clearly it's meant to be accessed from a landscape mode, because it's actually a bit of a pain in the arse trying to get to the volume buttons if you're holding it in portrait, which is a weird design choice. I'm not sure I like it, but it does indicate that they want you to use this like this as a bit of a media player device, which it really is. So while general swiping around and navigating the UI does actually feel very nippy, very fast, you do sometimes get a bit of a lag when you're launching apps. You do get a bit of a slowdown when you're perhaps starting new movies or new TV shows. It's not that noticeable, but it is there if you're coming from like an iPad or a more expensive tablet. But to be fair, again, I've got to keep going back to this. For a £50 tablet, I think you'd be pretty impressed about how fast this is. You can see just as I scroll around, there's not really any hint of lag. Sometimes the capacitive screen is a little bit responsive, requiring a bit more of a firm press or maybe a double press every now and then, but it's really not that bad at all. So we can open books like this, and you can see it comes up really fast, and it's great for reading books as well as watching movies. It's not too bad. Obviously a pair of headphones would be a lot better. Let's fast forward this a bit. So you can see it's pretty responsive as well. It has no issue loading HD content, although obviously it doesn't play in full HD because it's only a 1024 by 600 resolution. Hopefully I can find a light bit. Let's try this. So one thing you will see that this is pretty dark. The lighting in this video isn't perfect for showing off the screen, but if I pull this down, you can see it is at maximum brightness. So that's actually, aside from being a bit pixelated because it is a low res, the biggest issue for me is it's quite dim, and you can't really get away from that. So if you want to watch this on a train or somewhere bright outside, you're going to really struggle with that. So it's ideally sort of suited for perhaps in bed at night or something. So the screen's a bit dark, but it has no problem playing the video. It looks good. Colors are nice. Just trust me on that. You can't really see it very well. So let's go back to the home screen. So generally my first impressions are pretty positive, and if anything comes up like, oh, that's a little bit slow, or perhaps that's not quite as nice, or, you know, coming from the iPad, for example, the screen doesn't look quite as nice. Of course it doesn't, but it's £50. Very, very cheap, and I think very good value. Who's this for? I think it's for kids who want to have their first tablet. You know, you've got some games, basic games on the Amazon Fire Store. I think it's for elderly people. I think they'll like the simple, durable build quality. I think they'll like the fact, and this is, I think, one of the best things about the Kindle tablets is how everything is sort of presented to you on a you know, an Android or a iOS tablet. You've got a big sort of home screen with your apps, where you do still have this here, but you have a lot of widgets sort of on the screens already, which means you sort of just scrolling through and you kind of want to watch that, you know, you kind of want to play that. It encourages you just to go ahead and, you know, buy that, for example. So although some may not like the interface, they might not like this sort of carousel of Amazon products, I think if you have an Amazon Prime account or you read Kindle books regularly, you'll quite enjoy just sort of booting up your tablet and then you're just swiping and think, oh, I haven't read that for a while, let's click on that and continue reading. So obviously that's not downloaded, so that's not going to work. Actually, that's pretty quick though. So let's click that book, and straight away we're in. So I think that's pretty good. And you know, if you've already got a Kindle, like a Paperwhite or a one of the old Kindle e-readers, I think this is a nice sort of compromise rather than paying for an expensive new tablet. This is sort of gives you the tablet qualities of being able to watch video and browse the web, but also you get this sort of the same nice one-handed, easy to use Kindle book e-reader within it. So you're not getting a full sort of 10-inch device, you're getting a nice 7-inch thing which is easy to hold in one hand. It's good for commuting, good for the plane, the train, for example, good for in bed. But obviously you do get the access to, you know, more rich media content from video and movies and pictures. So first impressions are, it's a sturdy device, very dense. It's sort of a bit heavier than you'd think, but at the same time that translates to feeling a bit more rugged, a bit more durable, so you wouldn't really have a problem if you sort of flung it around a bit. And, you know, above all, as I say, it's £50, so if it gets stolen, if it gets damaged, if you don't really use it, it's not the end of the world. Just have it on the sofa, have it on a table. I just left it to one side, and some of my family members started using it and just having a flick through the browser and started playing some videos. Obviously, being a Amazon device, it is really highly recommended you do have an Amazon Prime account. It sort of makes everything a lot easier. You're not sort of buying videos, you're not having to buy books a lot of the time. So I perhaps wouldn't recommend it if you don't have an Amazon Prime account. It is definitely worth having because it just means that you can just jump into things, you know, like Amazon Prime Video.
Leslie. What's up, Ron? I'm gonna need you to go.
There you go. So you can see it's pretty good. It loads fast. Good, decent sound. So my first impressions are actually a lot more positive than I thought they would be. I quite like it. It's nice to use, easy to use, good to hold. And even if you're worried about storage, you can expand it with a micro SD, which is nice. So, you know what? Actually, pretty good. First impressions are very positive, and we've got to end on the price, $49.99 in the UK, which is just ridiculous. So check out the description below. I'll link you to the US and UK Amazon accounts, Amazon sites where you can buy this if you're interested. And also you can find my full review on my channel coming in the next day or so. So thank you very much for watching. This is my first impressions of the new Fire from Amazon, the 7-inch 8GB model. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and more on this coming soon. Cheers, guys.